battery is charging, phone locked in, so I got like a little bit of time on my hands. So we can talk about it. Talk about the awesome fight in UFC. But I told y'all that Canelo fight with Caleb Plant was gonna go exactly how I thought it would go. Either Canelo would win by knockout or Caleb Plant would win by decision. Canelo was not going to win that fight by decision. But it was a great fight, but it's not going to be one that we going to be talking about one for the ages. That's just how it is with Canelo. He doesn't, he gets you out of there, but at the end of the day, he doesn't, does it in spectacular fashion. At the end of the day, he caught Caleb Plant with some good shots, and he was able to finish Caleb Plant off. Like I said before. Now, before I continue, I'm going to make this very clear. No disrespectful comments towards neither Canelo or Caleb Plant, or especially the host. Anybody come on here talking stupid, I'm going to evaporate your ass. And depending on how reckless you talk, I'm going to get real nasty. But yeah, props to Canelo. Canelo makes history. Undisputed super middleweight champion. Oh, I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to do a solo video about that because I still don't have Canelo the undisputed #1 pound for pound fighter. As long as Bud is undefeated, it's still an argument. Now, you're going to have people that's going to try to think they can steamroll you and come on your channel and say this and that. But they know not to try that with me. They know not to come on here with that. They know not to come on here with that. Well, I'm you know what? I know who I think is going to win. In my heart of hearts, I know who's going to win that fight. But out of respect towards both camps, towards the Crawford camp and the Porter camp, I'm going to just, I'm going to keep my mouth shut because at the end of the day, both of them watch my channel. So, it's like I got to stay neutral because I deal with both of them. My thing is, may the best man win. I'll break down the fight after the fight, whatever happens. But that's going to be a good fight. Do not miss that fight. Do not miss that fight. I don't think Canelo is the undisputed #1 pound for pound. But, however, he made a case, a strong case. He made a very strong case by taking care of Caleb Plant. But at the end of the day, you got to keep it a buck. Canelo was losing that fight to me. He was getting outboxed by Caleb Plant, but Caleb Plant just didn't do some things that could have possibly secured him the fight or made his chances better at winning that fight. I mean, he was working the jab, but I think he should have threw more combinations, and also I think he should have tried to go upstairs more because it was paying off for him. At the end of the day, what did I say breaking down the fight? It wasn't about Canelo adjusting to Caleb Plant. It was more about Caleb Plant adjusting to Canelo when Canelo makes a run. And we all knew that Canelo was going to eventually, impose his will. But at the same time, Canelo struggled in that fight because he was getting outboxed. And I know people don't want to hear that. And as far as Steve Farhood's scoring go for that fight, I strongly disagree with how he had that fight scored. Strongly. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who was winning the fight until the final bell rung. At the end of the day, Canelo won the fight. And I think to a certain degree, I think Canelo's corner was worried about what they were seeing, and I think they told Canelo to step on the gas. Yeah, Chewy, he did. Look, Chewy, Canelo won. It doesn't matter who was winning up into the fight. It only matters who won the fight. Canelo won the fight. The man is undisputed. He's the first Mexican undisputed super middleweight champion. Now, Canelo still got a ways to go, but I still got Ricardo Lopez as the greatest Mexican fighter. I still got Ricardo Lopez. But Canelo catching up. I still got Ricardo Lopez. Because nobody beat Ricardo Lopez. But Canelo struggled. He did struggle. But like I told you, Canelo is going to make some adjustments. He has the ring IQ. It's just like the Amir Khan fight. It's just like the Amir Khan fight. He struggled with Amir Khan the first 3.5 rounds. Then all of a sudden, he said, okay, I'm going to start whacking Amir Khan to the body. Then he's when them exchanges, because Amir Khan stays in exchanges too long. Instead of throwing a 1-2-1-2 or a 1-2-1-3, he throws a 4-5 punch combination, then he tries to step out. So eventually, if he keeps doing that, you're going to time him, you're going to get ready. Okay, by the time he throws the third punch, I'm going to cover up and put myself in position to counter him. That's what Canelo would do. He said, okay, so when he comes again, I'm going to rack him to the body. So he started breaking Amir Khan down. Then he started doing damage with the body shots. Then eventually, he slowed Amir Khan down. He hit him with the overhand right, and he slapped Amir Khan. End the story. Oh, I saw the Usman fight. I had to stay. No, it was a good fight. See, the thing about Canelo, like, he just gets the job done. It doesn't matter whether he loses rounds, but he finds a way. He finds a way to get the job done. But he won. He's undisputed. We could talk about Canelo's past or whatever the case may be, what we think of Canelo. But at the end of the day, man, he's continuing to win. I can't accuse Canelo of nothing because they took random drug tests. So I'm kind of going to leave that alone. But that's going to always be in the back of people's head about Canelo getting caught, with his ties to the mystery meat. But it was a good fight, though. The thing is, with Canelo, he isn't tied to like what you call classic fights. He's a blue collar, work hard and get the job done type of fighter. Because like I said, up until the stoppage, I had Caleb Plant ahead. But Caleb Plant wasn't doing, to me, he wasn't doing enough to really keep Canelo keep him a little bit more honest. But I think Canelo knew that he was possibly behind and he turned it up. I don't know if his corner told him that the fight was a little too close for they liking, but he turned it on. Yeah, Chewy, but Canelo has always struggled with mobile fighters, but Caleb Plant didn't have enough power behind him, I think, to make Canelo worry. But I do think Canelo was thinking okay, am I possibly behind, or is this fight too close for my liking? So he did he stepped on the gas. He got Caleb Plant out of there. When he landed them last 2 punches to the top of the head, Caleb was already done. He was already done. And that was it. Yeah, Chewy, he didn't have enough. Like, this is what I be trying to tell people. Floyd hit harder than what people think, because Canelo was pausing when he was getting hit with Floyd, especially with that body shot. Floyd's body shots more damage to you than him going upstairs. You watch that fight with Manny Pacquiao when Floyd did the little shoulder roll and turned around and he hit Manny Pacquiao like dead in his chest. Manny Pacquiao was done. Manny Pacquiao was like, well, I'm going to make sure that I don't run into nothing, but I'm going to just try to, like, I'm not going to run into nothing, but I'm not going to put myself in a position to get knocked out. Manny was done after Floyd landed that punch to the chest. He was hesitant to come in the whole fight, the rest of the fight, because he thought Floyd was setting him up for something. He was thinking too much in that fight. And this is what I'll be trying to tell you. When Floyd fought Canelo, like I said, Floyd's punches was doing damage to Canelo. So this is what I be trying to say when I hear people say, oh, Floyd ain't got no power and all this kind of stuff. Everybody that did fought Floyd say he hit harder than what you think he does. Everybody that said that, from Robert Guerrero to everybody. But yeah, it was a solid fight, man. It went exactly how I pictured it would go. I said that Caleb Plant needed to start strong and he needed to finish strong. And it looked like he was on the verge, but then the problem was Canelo decided to turn it up, and then that was pretty much the end of the story. But you didn't see Canelo, like, tremendously how he's adjusted, like how he's made adjustments ever since the Floyd Mayweather fight. He's made adjustments. He's gotten better. And we can't take that away from him. But yeah, I don't know why this damn Ferrari trying to, like, speed up like I can keep up with it. Hilarious. Nah, Plant had a good game plan, like trying to keep Canelo. Oh, appreciate that. Canelo had a good game. Excuse me. I'm trying to drive and, like, watch this at the same time. Caleb Plant had a good game plan, keep Canelo at the end of his jab. Use the jab. But then there was a lot of missed opportunity for Caleb Plant, because Caleb Plant, whenever he would throw that jab, what he should have came with was a straight right. And then the turning was working a little bit too. When he would turn on Canelo, he should try to throw a couple of combinations. He didn't use the uppercut. The uppercut was there. The body attack that Caleb Plant had was solid, but he didn't use that enough. So there was a lot of missed opportunity for Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant don't have nothing to be ashamed of. You lost to Canelo, and he can say this much: until the stoppage, I was holding my own. Now that's something he can say. He was doing very well. It wasn't like, I know Showtime made it seem like it was a one-sided fight, but I don't pay attention to them. I have my own eye test, and I thought that the fight was very competitive. And it was finally, and I think it was good for Canelo to at least be in a competitive fight. And I think sometimes what makes you great is when you have to go through some adversity. And I think that's why sometimes Floyd Mayweather don't get the credit he deserves, because Floyd Mayweather made it look so easy. And some people could say cherry picking or whatever the case may be, but Floyd was that good. And that's the problem. Everybody that Floyd fought, he just would make them look mediocre. He made Manny Pacquiao look mediocre, and we know Manny Pacquiao is a mediocre. He made Canelo look mediocre. We now know Canelo isn't mediocre. You know, he fought a hard-fought fight against Miguel Cotto. Very competitive fight. When people said, well, Floyd can't brawl, Floyd is going to run. Well, he went toe-to-toe with Miguel Cotto all night and still won that fight in pretty much dominant fashion, if you want to think about it, because the rounds that Floyd clearly won, he dominated. Floyd won that fight 8 rounds to 4. So that's the thing. That's the reason why Floyd don't get the props he deserved, because for the most part, Floyd really didn't have to go through no adversity because he was that good and his skill set was that high. Except for that second round with Sugar Shane Mosley, where Floyd damn near got knocked out. After the third round, Floyd whooped Sugar Shane Mosley's ass. That's fact. But you get some adversity tonight. He was in a competitive fight. This wasn't a fight that he dominated. I mean, well, according to Showtime, he did. And according to some of them people that was watching the fight in person, well, I don't know about that. Caleb Plant, like I said, I had him ahead until the stoppage. But based off how Showtime was scoring the fight, Caleb Plant wasn't going to win the fight. At the end of the day, it's still a win for Caleb Plant. He fought a very competitive fight versus Canelo, and then guess what? He walks away with $10 million. Nah, Chewy, he didn't dominate, but he found it. Chewy, that's what make you great. That's what make you great, when you find a way to win. That's what he found a way to win. He turned it up. He turned it up. I think, Chewy, from me to you, I think Canelo thought that he might have been losing that fight. Because, I mean, he turned, in the 11th round, he came out and turned it up a notch. I mean, he got real aggressive. I don't know if Canelo thought he was losing that fight, or did they tell him, we don't know, it's too close. Get this dude up out of there. Nah, that's okay. I had Caleb ahead. I thought Caleb looked it better at times, orchestrating his game plan versus Canelo. Because Caleb Plant for the first half of the fight, a lot of those, he was slipping a lot of those punches by Canelo. Canelo wasn't hitting him full throttle until the second half of the fight. But then Canelo got, like I said, Canelo got him up out of there. And that's all that matters. So now 2 weeks from now, we have, this is what makes Sean Porter versus Bud even more important. Because we already know it's either Bud or Canelo as far as number one pound per pound go. It's either or. It's take your pick. If you think it's Canelo, I don't have a problem with it. With it being Canelo in your eyes. If you think it's Bud, I don't have a problem with you thinking that is Bud. Personally, right now, I have Bud because Bud has already been undisputed, and he has a tall task ahead of him. Now, if Bud goes in there and stops Sean Porter, then we right back at square one. If Bud dominates Sean Porter, then we right back at square one. Now, if Bud struggles and barely beats Sean Porter, then by a notch, I may say, okay, Canelo is one 1A and Bud is 1 minus. You know, like how you have an A plus and then an A minus, like in grade school. But if Bud goes in there and he stops Shawn Porter, then I still probably would place Bud ahead of Canelo. Or at least we'll still have that argument who's number one. But we gonna find out. We about to find out in 2 weeks. We about to find out. I'm excited for this fight. You know, like I said, I talked to Kenny earlier today. You know, I told Kenny I'm gonna be there. Well, nobody's ever. Well, see, here's the thing. Nobody's ever beat Shawn Porter decisively. All of Shawn Porter's fights, even in losses, were close. You look at the Errol Spence fight. He don't get dropped by Errol Spence. He possibly wins that fight. The Kell Brook fight was very competitive. The Keith Thurman fight was very competitive. You know, some people thought that Shawn edged Keith Thurman. You look at the Ugas fight. The Ugas fight, like I said, I told Kenny, like a man, I thought that Ugas did enough to win that fight. Shawn started off strong in the first 4 rounds, but then Ugas, he just started to outbox Shawn, and I thought that Ugas did enough to get that fight. I'll talk about the Charlos later. One thing about Canelo, like I said, Canelo's ring IQ is very high. I really think that he studied. He kind of remind me of Action Bronson. That's who Canelo remind me of, because Action Bronson just emulated and straight up stole Ghostface Killer's rap style. And if anybody don't think Action Bronson stole Ghostface Killer's rap style, then I don't know what to tell you. He studied Ghostface Killer. He studied the Iron Man album, and he studied Supreme Clientele, and he started trying to emulate Ghostface Killer. And I think Canelo studied that Floyd fight, and he started emulating some of the things that Floyd would do. Now, you know, the shoulder roll, the counter punching, and ain't nothing wrong with that. Hey, I know this. Hey, I know hip hop. See, the thing is, I would make more hip hop videos, but y'all don't watch them. Y'all only watch these type of videos. I told you if y'all didn't watch them, I would go make them. But I'm gonna try this hip hop stuff one more. Man, I know the hip hop, man. I'm trying to tell you, that's exactly, if you wanted to put that in retrospective, that's what happened. Floyd was Ghostface Killer, and Canelo was Action Bronson. And Canelo studied. He studied, he emulated, and then he mastered it to a certain degree. Not quite Floyd. Don't have the footwork that Floyd has. But Canelo can walk you down. He can pace you. He can pressure you. That's something that he's got really good at doing. So, next up for Canelo, probably what's going to happen to Canelo is, I think Canelo probably, I think next year, 2022, Canelo goes up to, depending on what happens with Arthur Beterbiev and Marcus Brown, Canelo probably goes back to 168. and he probably might try to fight the winner out of Marcus Brown and Arthur Beterbiev. Or he might go up to light heavyweight, try to fight Dimitri Bivol. Now I don't know who got. I think Arthur Beterbiev is the WBC and the IBF champion, and I think Dimitri Bivol is the WBA. Now I could be wrong. I don't know who has the other. I don't remember who has the other belt, but I think Canelo may try to go for undisputed at light heavyweight. Arthur Beterbiev is 36, 37 years old. Why not? And at the end of the day, Arthur Beterbiev is getting up there. Now, had they fought like 2 years ago, probably Arthur Beterbiev smashes Canelo. But you know, now Arthur Beterbiev showed signs that he was aging. Now, let's see what happens in a few weeks with Marcus Brown. And I think Marcus Brown is still a PBC fighter. I know Arthur Beterbiev used to be advised by Al Haymon, but I don't know if he's still being advised by Al Haymon, but he's a top-ranked fighter. But I know Marcus Brown used to be with the PBC. I don't know if he's still with them, but that's the fight that's coming up in about 3 weeks. Okay, that's what I thought. So basically you need Arthur Beterbiev and Joe Smith Jr. to fight, and then you could get possibly what could happen is possibly you might let all them dudes like battle it out for undisputed. Maybe Canelo could go up there and get Dimitri Bivol's belt. Then he has one of the three, and then see if he could get a fight with Joe Smith Jr. And then if Arthur Beterbiev takes care of Marcus Brown, then Canelo would face Arthur Beterbiev sometime next year. Probably around this time next year. So that's what I see happening. I see Canelo probably going back up to light heavyweight. I see Canelo going back up, because at the end of the day, what is there for him to do at 168? He has all the belts. I don't think he doesn't have to wait for David Benavidez. Yeah, Showtime. I was laughing because Steve Farhood, he had that. I'm not gonna disrespect Steve Farhood, but I totally disagree. I had Canelo losing that fight into the stoppage. But it was just some mistakes that Caleb Plant made that could have put him in position to just like really secure that fight. But based off what Showtime was doing, they wouldn't go late. They clearly had it. They clearly had it to where Canelo had to win that fight. Because Steve Farhood, I just was laughing, and I kind of knew he was gonna do that because I was kind of expecting it. Because you have to understand, they want to keep Canelo on Showtime. They want to keep Canelo on Showtime. But yeah, I was cracking up how they had that fight scored. I was like, what? But the smart money was on Canelo. But I just totally disagree with how Steve Farhood had that fight. He had Canelo pretty much winning every round, and I was like, okay, okay. I mean, if Canelo was doing what Shakur Stevenson was doing versus Aaron, that's a different story. Shakur Stevenson, he was dominating that fight from beginning to end. There was no way. It was very I know some people gave Heron like 1 or 2 rounds to the stoppage. I didn't have Heron winning 1 round in that fight. I had Shakur Stevenson clearly dominating that fight. And if you want to make the comparison, I did not see that with Canelo versus Caleb Plant. I thought Caleb Plant had plenty of moments in that fight, but there were just moments where he needed to execute a little bit better, and he just didn't do it. Sometimes don't get too comfortable. I said Caleb Plant was going to have to take some risks eventually in that fight. Because some of the combos looked good when he would throw them, but then sometimes you can't be a combo puncher too. You have to like systematically break a dude down. One thing about Canelo, he can throw the combos, but then Canelo can break you down punch by punch. No, absolutely not. Jermell Charlo is getting stopped. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. He don't have it. If Canelo was able to overcome the skill set of Caleb Plant, I mean, we could be honest and say, hey, Jamal or Jermell don't have the skill set of Caleb Plant as far as being a pure boxer. I mean, I gotta be honest. I'm gonna say Canelo was gonna lose to Charlo because Charlo black. I mean, I'm just keeping it 100. Charlo's not Canelo 175 and become undisputed at 175. Then at the end of the day, you know, when his career is over with, then you know Canelo, you got him in that top 10, top 5 great as ever. And that's something that he will have over Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao if he becomes undisputed in 2 different weight classes. Manny never was undisputed and Floyd was never undisputed. But still doesn't take away neither one of them's greatness. But that's going to get Canelo in the argument about why Canelo could possibly be, you know, top 5, top 10 all-time great. But then the argument against Canelo is going to be, well, Canelo lost a one-sided fight to Floyd Mayweather. But yeah, if he goes up to 175 and wins undisputed at 175, yeah, hell yeah, Canelo, you gotta have him in your top 10, probably pound for pound greatest. There's no doubt about Canelo's greatness. There's no doubt about his greatness or how good Canelo is. But at the same time, Canelo gonna always have an asterisk because, well, you know what? Because of the mystery meat. That's gonna follow him as long as he lives. Somebody gonna bring it up. That's gonna be the thing that's gonna end all be all. I mean, Floyd could have went for undisputed if he wanted to, but I don't think Floyd cared about that kind of stuff. I just don't think Floyd really was tripping off that kind of stuff because he knew that his legacy was set in stone. Where Canelo, he's trying to do different things. But yeah, if he becomes undisputed at light heavyweight, yeah, he's up there. Well, that's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say. Because when you say undisputed and say, okay, well, here's the thing. Because this is the thing that Errol Spence nut huggers love to do to Bud. When they try to put Errol Spence on a higher pedestal than Bud. This is what they'll say. This is their go-to move. They'll try to say, well, Bud didn't fight nobody really at Undisputed. But then if you look at, at 140, when actually he did. He fought the best guys he could fight at 140. But then when he comes up to 147, then it's a discrepancy. But then Errol Spence never went for Undisputed. But then his biggest wins is against Sean Porter, a fight that he barely won, and then a fight that basically, based off what happened to Mikey Garcia in his last fight, that diminished that fight dramatically by Mikey Garcia losing to basically somebody we never heard of. So it kind of makes it look like Mikey Garcia is overrated. So when you go back to that Errol Spence fight versus Mikey Garcia, you like, well, he was supposed to beat Mikey Garcia, and Mikey Garcia was a smaller guy. You see where I'm going with this? Yeah, his accomplishment is great. But then you can flip you on the flip side, you can do the same thing to Canelo. You can say, well, who had Caleb Plant fought up to that point until he fought Canelo? So it's subjective. It's subjective. It always makes for a fun debate. But at the end of the day, Canelo he probably won't ever be like higher than Floyd Mayweather. That's just facts. You could argue about who Floyd fought or cherry picking and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, out of those alleged cherry picks, none of those cherry picks could beat Floyd Mayweather. So once again, it's subjective. Because here's the thing. Floyd Mayweather, back in the day, he beat Diego Corrales. So when I hear people try to say Floyd is a cherry picker, I say it's absolutely. Diego Corrales was a monster. He was knocking out everybody. He was dominant. Everybody was scared of that dude. And Floyd Mayweather fought him when he was at his peak. Most people thought Floyd was going to get knocked out when he fought Diego Corrales. So when I hear these idiots, and like I say, I have a lot of issues with Floyd Mayweather, but when I hear these idiots try to diminish what Floyd did when he went up there and had the balls to fight Diego Corrales, a guy that was knocking everybody out, that people was afraid of. And Floyd went in there and gave him the business. So I don't even entertain that, because like I said, at the end of the day, the people that say that are morons. They're either a moron. It's the only fight that people thought Floyd was going to get knocked out in. People thought I thought Diego Corrales was going to knock Floyd out. I said, I don't know about, that was the only fight that I think I ever picked Floyd to lose. I thought Floyd was going to get slept. I thought Floyd was going, and he went toe-to-toe with Diego Corrales. He fought a smart fight. He knocked him down multiple times. So when I hear people say that, I just laugh. I laugh because I know they don't know what the hell they talking about. But yeah, kudos to Canelo. Congratulations. I'll be back with a little bit more. We're going to continue to talk about this. But once again, congratulations to Canelo Alvarez. He is now the undisputed super middleweight champion. I'm out.